Friday, March 28th of 2025. That is today, day of Venus, day of beauty, day of glamour, day of sensuality. And we are about to experience a solar eclipse tomorrow, Saturday, March 29th of 2025, alongside with the new moon. And we are preparing for that beautiful fiery energy of the new moon in Aries, as well as this beautiful conversation that the universe is having with us in regards to our experience and how we can invigorate it. Today, I'm going to be talking about, alongside with artificial intelligence, using Poe. If you've never heard of Poe, it's a artificial intelligence system similar to ChatGPT, but it has different sources or different ways of connecting to artificial intelligence. And I'm going to be talking about Helena Blavansky. And we're going to dive a little deeper into that, um, inspired by the live stream from yesterday where we were watching together Gaia TV, and we were looking into what channeling was about. And because I saw that Helena Blavansky was on this conversation that Gaia brought forward, I wanted to sort of have a little bit of a conversation with AI on this and find out a little bit more in regards to what is known on the internet, across the internet, in regards to her, and maybe clarify a little bit more with the help of artificial intelligence. So if you are open and ready to learn with me today, then please do stick around. Cura, 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 corazón. Cura, cura, cura. Hi, I just wanted to take this moment to invite you to come over to my website, www.thebloominglotushealing.com. That's www.thebloominglotushealing.com, and sign up for my email list so that you can stay in touch and find out about activities that I don't announce here on YouTube. And you can also get to know all of the classes that I offer, as well as the one on one offerings that I have available there for you. All right. So, are you excited about this conversation that we're going to have today? But before we get started, I wanted to invite you to go over to my sister channel at the Akashic Records channel, And if you haven't subscribed to that channel, please do so, because there's so much amazing stuff going on there. And so you can listen to that. I want to invite you to subscribe to this channel if you haven't done so yet. And I want to invite you to share and like this video. And today, I will be announcing on Instagram and here and over by email the winner of the raffle that I had going on for this month. So please do stay tuned for an email I'm going to be sending out for that, which is going to be exciting. So I'm going to be tallying up after this session here live stream, so that I can announce the winner of the raffle, where you will get to the one-on-one session with me and get that clearing for Venus in retrograde. Okay, so yesterday I went live, which, by the way, I wanted to share that I got a copyright strike yesterday because I was sharing Gaia's TV, and I think AI, like the AI for YouTube, it just kind of automatically just, something from a third party, and they just kind of like strike you. And so I appealed it. Thankfully, it's up there. I haven't posted a like a thumbnail for it yet, but I will have it today, so you'll have the thumbnail. But if you see some random video with no thumbnail, that is the Gaia TV episode that I watch on channeling the bridge to the beyond. And on that specific episode, I was really appalled and surprised that that they included Helena Blavansky in that episode, because there's a lot of let's say controversy around her, and I was just like wondering, okay, I mean, if Gaia TV took the time to put her name on here, there must be something else here that I'm missing, because I was under the understanding that she was someone who was sort of a fraud and debunked in a way for having um, any sort of let's say gift, right? But I also am kind of biased because I'm a woman, and I know that as women we've experienced uh over the centuries a lot of oppression, and we have seen a lot of that less than sort of like, especially when it comes down to the spiritual perspective. Now, Helena Blavansky is a co-founder or created alongside with other people Theosophy. And Theosophy is a spiritual and philosophical movement that was founded on the 19th century by Helena Petrovna Blavatsky. She was born, I believe, in Russia, and I'll find out more about this. But I am going to be sharing some of the information that I found through AI, because this happened yesterday, and I wanted to go live today for the sake of just maybe using a little bit of a shortcut. I am using Poe, and by the way, I'm not sponsored by Poe. Poe is just it's an AI system that allows me to just ask questions, sort of like ChatGPT. And so I went in here and I said, okay, well, let me ask some questions. And this is basically AI that is trained by all information from the internet, and it just kind of comes up with this information. Now, all of the information from this specific platform is trained up until October of 2023. So if there's anything newer, just know, please have some grace with me. And also just be curious and search on your own as well on the internet. I may do a little bit more search by myself as well, and post another live stream on this. But for now, I'm gonna just kind of talk about what was found here in this specific from the specifics of AI. So basically, with Theosophy is a spiritual and philosophical movement that was founded in the late 19th century. And Blavatsky, right? She is basically one of the people that let's say founded this movement. Okay. And she was very involved in India. She worked with theosophists in India as well. And she from what she said, or at least from what I read about her bio, is that she did say that she traveled a lot, and she went to Tibet, and she worked with mystics, and she went around the world working with different mystics. And then she just kind of came up with this new way of thinking, because of how she basically gave herself permission to be curious and step away from Christianity, or the main religions at the time, that were based in Christianity, right? And so we have here. So the question that I asked was, because there's a lot of conversation about Theosophy being anti-Semitic and being the core value that the Nazis had moving into this place of like feeling like, okay, yes, like we are better than the Jews, right? And so there's sort of this anti-Semitism that is infused with the word Theosophy, right? And so according to AI, the reason why this is happening is because there was an influence between the 19th and the 20th century that there were prejudices, right? It was developed in a time, so Theosophy was originally developed in a time when racial hierarchies and colonial attitudes were widespread in the Western world, which Yeah, it's true. Westerners have had this, like, we're better than the other people, right? And so that was definitely something that I can potentially see that as being sort of like permeating or influencing that expression or that experience. It also says here that the context of this specific attitude of anti-Semitism, or whether belief that anti-Semitism is sort of influencing theosophy, is because of the certain teachings that are related to root races, so like original races, right? And this concept sort of is what theosophy describes as stages of human evolution. So meaning that if there's these root races that are less evolved or less or they're devolved from where we are now, then we kind of look down upon these specific races because of the fact that they are supposedly not as evolved as, for example, someone who would be interested in theosophy, for example. So some of Blavansky writings refer to Jewish people in ways that reflect prejudices of her time. So this is kind of ambiguous because I feel like maybe at the time she was, we are we are influenced by our culture, we are influenced by our environment. So I can see that, and I would say let's give her grace because she was in a different time. We can, like, this is the thing that I feel a lot of us do in today's world, is that we want to impose our experience and our expression of understanding of today's modern society into the past. And that's not really how I feel we should, or yeah, I don't feel like we should be necessarily approaching it that way, because we want to understand the historical context. And when we understand the historical context, maybe even giving yourself permission to travel, like to even travel to that time. How did it feel during that time? What was the experience during that time? What was the collective consciousness of that time? And then maybe, just maybe, we can start really understanding why these things are happening. Why are these things being written? Why are we coming to these conclusions? Why they were coming to those conclusions at that time, right? So like really thinking about that and understanding that there's still a tinge of, the collective consciousness influencing the writings and influencing the expression of what she's saying. Even what I'm saying right now, right, is being influenced by so much of the collective consciousness. So really understanding that, there's going to be times when we got to really look at things from a grain of salt and understand that maybe that wasn't the intention, but that was just the experience that they were having and the perspective that they had, and that's the reason why they went from that. Now, the other thing here that I want to say in regards to her writings, okay, the other thing that they say that AI says here is that there's controversial passages. And so in her writings, Blavatsky sometimes framed Judaism as a religion that had failed to evolve spiritually compared to other traditions. She occasionally depicted Jewish religious practices in a critical or dismissive light, which has been interpreted by some scholars as anti-Semitism. But let's just really think about this for a minute, because one of the things that AI says here, which, and it's also coming from different sources that I was reading online this morning, it says that even though her position was often critical of religions of Judaism, it wasn't just Judaism that she had a critical held a critical opinion about. She held a critical opinion about all religions. And so Judaism being one of the religions that she held that opinion. So she, in general, from what I understand, held the negative held a negative opinion about organized religions in general. So that's sort of like what I feel with that. Okay. Now, do we really know what she was thinking? Do we really know how she felt about Jewish people? We don't know that, right? Do we really know how she felt about people from other races? We don't really know that, right? And so we're never really going to find out. And one of the things that I've been feeling, and you let me know in the comments if this is something that you want to see. I was thinking about going into the records and channeling and receiving the information directly from the records to find out more about really the truth and what else can we kind of uncover in regards to this, because people are going to have opinions. They're going to come with biases. They're going to come with their perspective, their perceptions. I mean, I even do that. So it's like, why not go to the neutral source and receive that information from there? So anyway, let me know in the comments if you want me to do a video on that. I'll be happy to comply and connect to the Akashic Records and do a channeling here live with you. Then we have the broader legacy that she left behind, which, or that Theosophy left behind, which is Theosophy played a role in inspiring later esoteric and spiritual movements. This is the reason why I believe Gaia included her into this, because they were really just celebrating Theosophy in general, and just how Theosophy was sort of like this influence to the New Age movement. Um, so there's sort of like this interesting aspect of it. So one thing that is mentions here is that um it does talk about there's certain elements of theosophical thought that were appropriated and distorted by figures in the earliest 10th to 20th century, which we could talk about maybe someone like Hitler, for example, because that he did use the swastika, and I think he like reversed it or something, but he did use the swastika, which, by the way, that is a symbol, a sacred symbol from Hinduism. By the way, if you didn't know that, that swastika was just basically a cultural appropriation of Hinduism, which is insane. But here it says that most likely someone like Hitler was probably involved with theosophy, and then he just took that, because in theosophy they did use that symbol in their logo. So at least I was seeing that. So maybe he just felt like, I'm just gonna take this and make it my own and just take the energy. I'm pretty sure he understood energy in some way, so that's the reason why he did what he did. Because these symbols do carry energy, by the way. And so the other thing that I was going to say here is, um, these were racist ideologies that were carried by people that were not involved necessarily with Blavansky, right? So like really understanding that. But again, I don't know the truth. I don't know the absolute truth about what she was thinking, what she was doing, right? Like we don't know. Like we only know, a lot of people present the mask. We don't know what's behind the scenes here happening. Like what are the thoughts? What are the energies that you're operating from? We don't know that. So again, I'm leaving a big question mark on that. I mean, there's like he said, she said type of situation when it comes down to her. There's a lot of controversy around her. Hence the reason why I was so surprised that she was included in the Gaia TV series, because I was like, there's a lot of controversy around this woman. Like, why are you including her here? That's interesting. But maybe that they did that on purpose so that we could maybe have this conversation, right? So I'm grateful for that. Now, there's the modern interpretations. So there's contemporary theosophists who seek distance to seek distance from any prejudice, or any early elements of theosophical literature. So what it seems to me here, what is happening is that it seems to be that at the beginning of theosophy there was a tinge, right, of that element of maybe racism and separation, and that was sort of like tinted into that. But then as people evolved and connected with the teachings, they didn't want to connect necessarily with the tinges of racism that was sort of like influencing this there. So even though anti-Semitism is not central or a defining aspect of theosophy by any means, certain writings of Helena Blavatsky and others in that early stage of theosophy and the movement, they do carry some of the biases and prejudice. Sorry, I say, I don't know why I'm saying it, some biases and prejudice that are common in that historical context. So again, looking at it from that historical context, we can be like, okay, well, maybe they were in a way, sort of racist, right? Because this was just the way the world understood each other, right? Understood like collectively, it was part of it, right? Like if you're immersed in it and everyone is normalizing it, right? It takes a lot from you to actually like think outside of that. And I'm not saying that it's impossible. I'm not saying that it would be a bad thing or it would be a good thing, but I'm just saying that it would be harder for you to kind of break away from that collective mind, right? Now I ask then I asked AI, why is Helena Blavatsky controversial? And so again, there's so much more in regards to her, in regards to, so we're talking about theosophy and anti-Semitism and theosophy, but then now we're going to dive into what AI is saying about her and the reasons why she potentially is controversial. So one of the things that they say here is that she was criticized for various reasons, and there are pointed here. The number one being the being accused of fraud. Okay, she claimed that she had occult powers. Blavansky claimed to have access to hidden spiritual knowledge and to be in contact with ascended masters or Mahatmas, or enlightened beings who guided her teachings. She described receiving this information from these masters through psychic means, but skeptics accused her of fabricating these experiences. Now, let me tell you something. Let's just stop right there. I'm going to give this woman some grace here, because let's just talk about this for a minute. I myself have received psychic imprints or information from spirit, and which actually has helped me develop certain things, and does that make me a fraud because I'm receiving messages and channeling from spirit? uh I don't know, but I can understand why back in the day that was something, because during that time, if we really look at the at where the collective consciousness was going towards, we already departed from being more on the spiritual path. We departed from spirituality or philosophy, and we kind of leaned in more. We were already leaning into scientific the scientific method. So what that tells me here is that if we look at the times and where the collective consciousness was at the time, we were as a collective seeking for, and continue on to this day, of course. But at that time, we were really shying away from anything that looked kind of woo, right? We were shying away from that, and we were really focusing on making sure that the scientific method was the way that we were doing and operating from, right? And so I can see how that happened there. But again, you know, would I say that she wasn't connecting to us in the masters? Again, well, let me know in the comments if you want me to tap into the records, and I will definitely tap into the records for the next video, and we can talk about this. Then, welcome to my rabbit hole, y'all. So the other accusation of fraud, there's a report called the Hodgson report, which was published in 1885, and the society the from the Society of Psychical Physical Research. And this was a published report by an investigator called Richard Hodgson, which accused Blavatsky of being a fraud and faking phenomena such as materializing letters from the Mahatmas. Although the report has been criticized and partially reconsidered in modern times, it damaged her reputation significantly while she was alive. And so they did come back. I did read an article in regards to that, and they did come back and they did amend that report. So I'm kind of like, wow, if they amended that report, then we maybe need to look at that and see, well, maybe we're kind of maybe we're into something here. And so maybe what they were when they called her a fraud, maybe we're allowing ourselves to be influenced by this um by this report when we think about her as a fraud. Okay, so I'm open here. I am open ended here. I'm not taking any sides. I'm not forming an opinion yet. I'm just being curious, right? And I want you to come into this curiosity with me, right? Like, this is not about coming to a definite conclusion, but just to kind of, tickle the mind a little bit and figure out what is this. Now, she also was criticized for plagiarism. So she supposedly plagiarized large portions of her writings Particularly, they say that the magnum opus, the secret doctrine that she published in 1888, scholars have found that she borrowed, okay, ideas and passages from earlier works of esotericism, um, esoteric work. I'm just gonna like I can't speak, okay. And the philosophy in regards to this was sort of like borrowed. So yeah, I mean, truth is truth, right? And so I want to say I'm going to be very very careful with this. Do I want to say that she's completely a fraud? I don't know. Do I want to say that she plagiarized? I don't know, because truth kind of comes in a way that, I don't know. I'm playing the devil's advocate here. Um Truth is going to be coming is going to come from different sources, and it's going to be repeated in the same way, maybe with different words, but it's going to be the same thing, the same essence. So I'm not sure, I'm not sure about that. We'll have to think about that for a minute. And I'm giving myself permission to give her some grace, and that's okay. And I give myself some grace for kind of questioning that from yesterday. But hey, um yeah, just like I gave grace to Gaia, please give me grace, okay? Now, the second reason why she is controversial is racial and cultural. And that I can see how that could potentially be a problem, because the reality is that racism and cultural appropriation is a thing, and we want to really acknowledge that, because those who have been appropriated from deserve to be acknowledged, and their pain and their suffering deserves to be seen and accepted, and acknowledged, and yeah, acknowledged more than anything, right? So we want to be very mindful and very thoughtful about this. So the first thing that they talk about here is the root races. So that concept in itself, in regards to the root races, which kind of feels a little strange, uh, it describes spiritual and physical evolution of humanity through a series of times, right? Some of her descriptions of these races have been criticized, reflecting the 19th century racial hierarchies of Eurocentric biases. So, again, context for the times when she was alive. I mean, let's talk about this for a minute. Let's give ourselves permission to explore a little bit, to understand that she was a product of her times. So today I am able to give her grace. Do we necessarily say that it was okay? Absolutely not, but we can give her grace in regards to this, because again, she was in a collective expression. And also, how do we understand this for a minute? Do we want to understand it from a place of negativity, or do we want to understand it from a place of grace? Do we want to see this as an opportunity for us to see maybe this beautiful evolution that we have made? Um, but do we want to input race into that? Like, I don't know if race is really appropriate for that. I think that we as a human race in general have gone through a process of evolution, regardless of our race, regardless of the color of our skin. We have been going through a process of evolution, and that to me is what represents truth, and that is my truth, right? And so I want to invite you to really think about, what is your truth in regards to this, right? Do you believe that there are some races that are better than others, and that's where things get a little choppy there, right? That's where you can start receiving a little bit of that energy of separation, and then and then we kind of go into the Aryan races, and all this, like, really just sort of violent train of thought. So to me, that feels kind of violent, right? And so anyway, but we move into the other controversy, which is allegations of anti-Semitism. We go back to that original conversation about theosophy and anti-Semitism. So some of the Blavansky writings contain a critical or dismissive remarks about Judaism and Jewish people, which have been interpreted as anti-Semitic. While Blavatsky was critical of organized religions in general, her specific comments on Judaism have drawn significant criticism. And this we kind of know, like, I feel like whenever something is touching into Jewish people, we do know that there is sort of like a very soft spot for that. And I don't have an opinion on that. I really just think that's just what it is. And we want to respect the feelings and the experience and the reality of Jewish people, and how does this trigger them, and how does this trigger their own experience and their own expression of who they are. I feel like it's important to hold space for. We're not here to criticize that, but we're here to hold space for that. So I I want to say that if you are Jewish and you feel like Blavansky was in fact someone who was anti-Semitic, and you are against what she did and what she believed, then I completely understand that, and I honor your experience. Now, do I necessarily see this as a complete truth? I'm not sure, because again, she was in fact someone who talked about other races as well as in other religions as well. So it's kind of hard to say that she was completely into that. I don't know. Again, I don't know. So I don't want to say something here that is here or there. I'm kind of like still curious and finding out, and still with a question mark in that regard. And she's not alive to let us know, right? And so like there's that. But again, we do have the Akashic Records and mediumship to be able to connect and see. Again, let me know in the comments if you want me to go online and live and connect to her records. Okay, so appropriation of Eastern traditions. So going back to what we were saying here, Blavansky incorporated elements of Hinduism, Buddhism, and other Eastern spiritual traditions into her teachings. While she helped introduce these traditions to Western audiences, critics accused her of misinterpreting or distorting them for her own esoteric framework. A form of cultural appropriation. And that, my dear friends, I have to say, if you are taking these traditions and you're making them your own, and you're saying to people that this you came up with, then my dear friends, that is cultural appropriation, and that is not okay. Okay? I'm just going to say it out loud. That is not okay. It's not okay to say that you're the one who understood enlightenment when we know that Buddha was the one that understood enlightenment. It's not okay to say that the swastika is yours, because that's not yours, dear soul. That is the work of Hindus. Now, do the teachings in general, all the essence that runs behind, which is absolute love, compassion, and unconditional love from the universe, from God, and these very broad understandings of God, that come in truth in different forms, in different languages, in different spiritual languages. Absolutely, that truth is available for us. But do we want to take something that was uh, basically downloaded to a specific group of people because that's how they were meant to receive this? Because remember, God, to me, and this is just an opinion, right? To me, when I see the way that God downloaded all the religions and all these spiritual teachings, that was all downloaded specifically for each one of those regions, because each one of those regions had different needs. So when we look at different religions, we want to understand the historical context on when this download, this channeling happened. Dear souls, understand that God is not going to give us more than what we can handle at the time. So, with that said, I want to invite you to think about when you are looking at a certain religion and you're coming with that bias or that understanding, different, this modern understanding, you've got to go back to the historical context on when that religion was channeled, when the teachings were channeled, and how people took that and how they make it into the religion, into the organized religion, and the reasons behind they did that, and how they did that, for the fact of the historical context. We want, for the sake of the historical context, we want to honor that as well. For the sake of giving that religion grace, we have to look, and giving also those humans grace, we have to look at the historical context. Now, when we look at that, and we still go out and we seek that religion, and we seek the teachings of these people, and we travel, for example, according to her, she traveled, and you go to this place and you're traveling and you're learning from all these teachers, and you are not honoring your teachers. Oh, heck no, I do not agree with that. That is definitely plagiarism, and you are not honoring your people, right? um and I highly disagree with that. highly disagree with that. So if that's what she did, then I would be like, no, absolutely not. Like slap on her hand. Okay. Um, then the other controversy around her is the esoteric and mystical claims. Okay. Blavatsky works such as Isis Unveiled in 1877 and The Secret Doctrine in 1888 contain bold claims about the nature of the universe, the origins of humanity, and hidden spiritual truths. Many of these claims were based on supposed ancient wisdom or secret knowledge, but critics argue that they lack empirical evidence and rely heavily on speculation. Her blending of science, religion, and mysticism has been criticized by scientists and scholars as pseudoscience or fantasy. Okay, so this is where it gets a little difficult for me because okay, let me just tell you, y'all. Spirit will download things to us, right? To us, to the seers. It will download things to the seers way before science can catch up. And that's just the way I have been observing the truth come out, right? And so to me, I feel like when scientists at the time were telling her that she was incorrect and this is not there's no evidence of this, I think that these scientists are close minded and they're not giving themselves permission to be curious. I think they're just like, because you look like just this woman who's just talking stuff out of your, you know, wherever, you are basically, we're gonna tell you that you're crazy and that this is fantasy and you're just in delusion. You should be basically banned from whatever. But she's not claiming to be a scientist, right? She made these bold claims based on her own channeling, right? So she's not saying, oh, I'm scientifically proving this. She's saying this is what I channeled from spirit. And so your job as a scientist is to say, oh, that's interesting. Well, let me see if I can explain this. Where let me see if there's any evidence on this, and then you get to explore this with curiosity. This is one of the reasons why I particularly loved Islam, and why Islam, when in the Dark Ages, in Europe was in the Dark Ages, why Islam was like in the most beautiful expression, right, of their times, was because they were blending spirituality and science. They were not separating science from spirituality. So then this is where I have to say, well, we kind of have a hard time. And actually, a lot of scientists ended up going to Islamic schools and learning from Islamic teachers because they themselves were limiting themselves because of the fact that they were separating the church, or separating their spirituality from the scientific method. And that's where they limited themselves. So I'm just going to leave that there for you. Okay. The next thing here that we hear is another controversy around her is conflicts with organized religion. So Blavansky she was basically very critical of organized Christianity, where she viewed it as dogmatic, boohoo, and corrupt. Well, let's, yeah, Catholic Church. Her writings often attacked Christian doctrines and clergy, leading to backlash from religious authorities. Okay, well, she was just basically a rebel of her time, right? Like that's how I can see her. She presented theosophy as a spiritual alternative to traditional religion, which made her a polarizing figure among both religious and secular audiences. Um, yeah, so I mean, did she have a motive? Maybe she was trying to get theosophy as something that was significant. Maybe she was trying, or maybe she was trying to be of service. We don't know. We don't know that yet. Again, let me know in the comments if you want me to tap into the Akashic Records, and I'll do a video on that and tap into Madame Blavansky's records and find out the truth in regards to what was her intention behind it. Maybe I can even look into channeling her and see what she wanted to really say. Okay. Or channeling through her higher self. Okay. So we have this issue with organized religion, which I personally have always been very adamant to. I personally searched in organized religion. I searched God personally in organized religions. And again, I'm speaking from my own personal place. So, with that said, I want to say that did I find God inside the organized religions? Yeah, but it wasn't because I was in that organized religion. It was because I carried God within me. And all I did was learn how to unlock my connection with God just by being in prayer, or just by being in song, or being in silence and meditation. I don't think the religion, the religion is not God, right? The religion is not necessarily your connection to God. It can be a tool to lead you towards your connection to God, but it's not the ultimate tool. It's not the ultimate way. So if you're not being called to organize religion, that's great. Go ahead and do so, your connection, and work on your connection through any other means that you find are working for you specifically. Do I feel that organized religion is a positive influence in society? I got my opinions about that, because we have the collective or the hive mind that is part of organized religions that can potentially, let's say, brainwash you a little bit into believing that you are better than the other people, and all this stuff that I have personally seen, and how you are, basically, it's repeated over and over. It's like, oh, we are the ones who are saved, and we have to go out and save, or we have to go colonize the other, which I think is kind of interesting. Like, I have a very big issue, especially with evangelic Christianity, which I was part of. And oh my God, like, the amount of colonization sort of conversation that is happening around that. It's like, oh, we gotta go conquer other, the enemy from other people, meaning that you get them to subscribe to your ideology and start coming to your church. That's really what it is. And so, do I agree with that? Absolutely not. I think that by me saying, "Oh, well, I am going to be saved and you're not because you're not coming to my church," I think that is such bullcrap, right? And so I think that, do I agree with her in certain ways in regards to organized religion? Yeah, I do. And does that make her a bad person? No. I think that back in the day, religious organizations had a lot of, and then they still do have a lot of power. And I believe that that's where, yeah, I believe that that's where things kind of got a little difficult for her, because then she was looked down upon because of it. So, the other thing that there's controversy around her is the fact that Blavansky's personal life was marked by eccentricity and controversy. Hello, she traveled extensively, apparently, and claimed to have been visited Tibet, which I did mention earlier, and she studied under spiritual masters, which is a claim that historians sort of question, because it's sort of like it hasn't been like confirmed nor denied. So there's really no like way for us to prove that she actually did go there. And Because of this, she built a reputation as a mystic and a medium. Now, from what I was able to gather, she was a very good medium and a very good channeler. So that's a thing that she did do, and she was sort of like very. That's how she became so famous and so known, is because she was really good at channeling. And from somewhere in the internet, I read that she apparently was able to bring to light some people that were actually not channeling, and so that's why she ruffled some feathers. I'm not sure about that. It was somewhere in the internet that I read that someone was commenting it, so I'm not sure how accurate that is, but I'm just putting it out there. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not. I don't know. Her unconventional lifestyle and outspoken personality made her a target for criticism, particularly in a Victorian society where such behaviors were frowned upon. Again, she was living a life that was sort of like this free, you know, this free way that women did not, it was not seen as a good thing. You were supposed to follow a certain pattern of behavior, and she didn't follow that. So of course, do I see that as a bad thing? No, I think that was pretty cool that she lived her life in the way that she wanted. And why not? Number 6, and the last controversial aspect here, is that theosophy inspired many spiritual movements. Okay. So there was an enduring influence and misuse of her ideas. So her ideas kind of came from her, and then she did not intend for her ideas to be used in a certain way. And the same thing with Jesus, the same thing with Buddha. I mean, my gosh, these the same thing with Muhammad. I mean, ah, let me tell you, all of these beautiful souls, right, that have created this beautiful opportunity to kind of let us explore a little deeper and expand our consciousness. Unfortunately, we as humans, when we come in with our egoic mind and our egoic ways, we kind of start shifting things around, and we start just doing things that we're not supposed to with these teachings, right? And so I wonder, right, maybe because of her own biases, and maybe because of her own experience, of her own expression of where she was at the time, because of the collective mind, if maybe some of that tinging that she was carrying just kind of like flourished, it was picked up by these other movements, right, that took that idea, inspired by that tinging that she was kind of um you know evident, expressing, or I'm trying to think of a word, but yeah, so expressing, that's the best way that I can say, that she was expressing this, right, that this was there, it was part of her energy. And then so energetically, these influence other people who were not necessarily in the best behavior, and they were not necessarily um understanding her teachings fully, and they just twisted it to the energy that they wanted to shift this around. So I wonder if maybe that was part of the reason that energetically she carried like this specific imprint, and maybe she wasn't even aware of it. And then other people who carry the same imprint that was kind of twisted, then they took her ideas and got inspired by that, but by her, and they say, oh, because she carries this imprint, this energy, then let's go ahead and make it more aligned with us. Like, obviously this is the beginning. And then they just kind of like twist it around. I hope I'm making sense what I'm saying. So, Theosophy inspired many spiritual movements in the New Age, and maybe and a lot of New Age ideas. But some of her concepts, such as the root races, were later distorted and misused by racist and nationalist ideologies, including Nazi occult. So occultism in so it is known that Hitler was super into the occult, like he was like into all of that. And so and of course, because he was leading the movement, of course, that was very present in the in general. While Blavatsky herself did not advocate racism or political extremism, the association of some of her ideas with harmful ideologies, with okay, sorry, the association of her ideals with harmful ideologies has contributed to her controversial legacy. Wow. Thank you, AI, for this. So in summary, Helena Blavansky is controversial because of her bold esoteric claims, accusations of fraud and plagiarism, racially charged ideas, and criticisms of organized religion. While her work has inspired spiritual seekers and contributed to the study of comparative religion, it has also been criticized for its lack of academic rigor, cultural appropriation, and perpetuation of the 19th century biases. Her legacy continues to provoke debate among scholars, spiritual practitioners, and critics. And oh my gosh, has she come up with this debate? Like, I was debating too. Why is Gaia TV putting this up in this place? Like, why are we having this conversation? I did not know, because yesterday I had no clue that we're gonna be posting that. And for whatever reason, like, she was the one that when I saw her name, when I saw her face, on the video. I was like, what? They're including her? Like, why? Like, what's going on here? Am I like, because I was under the understanding that's like, hey, this woman, there's a lot of controversy. Don't touch it. Don't look into it. But I'm grateful. I'm grateful that I got to go down this rabbit hole. And yeah, and let me know in the comments if you want me to go into the records and find out the truth. I would love to do like tap into the Akashic records and find information about these situations. And so I think that would be a really fun thing for me to channel live here on the channel. Live here on the channel. I love that. Channel on the channel. Talk about talk about an amazing opportunity there. So let me know in the comments. I would love to do that for y'all on the next video. And yeah, so I'm gonna do a reading to end this. I'm gonna do a reading, but really for the lunar I'm sorry, I keep saying lunar eclipse, but it's really the new moon and the solar eclipse. So I'm gonna do a reading for the collective for this weekend so that you can prepare energetically. I know that I took a little longer to talk about Helena Blavatsky, that more than I thought I was, but this was such a juicy conversation, and I was like, oh my gosh, I have to talk about this. So if you are nerding out with me, I love it. Thank you so much for nerding out with me. I'm so grateful that you get to do that with me. And yeah, if you have something you want me to nerd around about in the future, let me know in the comments. I'd love to kind of like go down the rabbit hole, and with the help of AI too, which I think is great because AI is so like neutral when you get the information, which is really great. And so then you can just draw your conclusions there, and then you let me know, like, what are your conclusions about this? Do you know anything else about Helena Blavansky that I didn't cover here? And yeah, have you gone down the rabbit hole around her, and how do you feel? Maybe you feel very negatively about her, or maybe you feel positively about her. I'd love to hear your opinion, or even just your opinion on what you just watched here. That would be really great. So anyway, let's go ahead and do a reading, and I'm going to open the sacred container of reading. I'm going to offer some sacred sage for this reading, thanking the ancestors of the land, thanking my ancestors, my well ancestors, and thanking spirit guides and spirit teams, spirit calling in Archangel Michael to shield and protect the space, Archangel Raphael to support and to use my voice as a healing tool. Thank you, Spirit. Calling Archangel Metatron, help us connect to the records, connect to the higher self. Thank you, Spirit. We are here in your service. And so we offer this to you, dear Spirit, this beautiful sage, clearing the space, honoring the space, clearing. Let this be cleared for everyone who is here, whether they're watching live or on the replay. Let them clear the space, and opening the sacred container. Calling in my higher self, calling in the connection. Thank you, Spirit. As we set this intention today to connect, we are going to use both the Spirit of Psilocybin cards as well as tarot cards to receive any messages for this new moon in Aries, any messages for the collective that we need to know. What do we need to know as a human race, as a collective? For those who are going to be watching this, calling in the higher selves of those who are drawn to this conversation, whether it is in regards to Helena Blavatsky or whether it is in regards to this beautiful reading that you're going to give us today, dear Spirit. Give us the guidance that we need. What do we need to know today as a collective, and how can we apply this? How can we apply this knowledge? What do we need to know? What we need to understand? Thank you, Spirit, for this information. And so it is. Okay, so let's go ahead and show me, what do we need to know for the collective at this time? What else do we need to know for the collective at this time, please? What do we need to know for the collective at this time? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Spirit. Okay, so at this moment we are being called to patience. We have the card of the Seven of Pentacles upside down. We are being called to have patience at this time. We may feel like we're wasting our time, or like time is just passing by, that's just going slow, and that we're not moving towards our goals. This is not the time for you to be, trying to like take too much action. If you feel like you're like the universe is making you step back a little bit, listen to the universe. This is a time for you to slow down a little bit and and feel into what is. Now we are heading towards after the solar eclipse and the new moon. We are heading towards a lot of action, right? So we have the Page of Wands where there's energy that is coming towards us. But right now, today, if you're feeling like, listen, I just need to chill. Maybe tomorrow you're feeling like you need to chill. Maybe even Sunday you need to chill. But Monday you're feeling that, oh my God, I have all this energy. Listen to that. Listen to that, because this at this time you just need to slow down so that you can receive the messages, so that you can actually take reorganize your energy and focus it where you need to go. Okay, you are invited as well to understand. We got the card of the King of Cups, to really connect to your emotional body. Okay, how can you manage your emotional body? For some of you, your emotions might be going up and down. You might be feeling like, oh my gosh, like, am I bipolar? Right? Like, what is going on? Right? You may be feeling with this like oscillating energy that's going back and forth. Dear soul, it's because you are purging right now. You are in this journey of purging at this moment, dear soul. Just give yourself permission and grace to just sit with your emotional body and just notice in neutrality what's happening. Be the mediator for your emotions at this time. Understand that none of it is good or bad. It just is, right? So you want to allow yourself to just be present with both of these extremes, and just be in the navigation in the middle, in the balance space. Okay, it's almost like you have to kind of like become your own uh yeah, your own mediator at this moment. So that's sort of like what I'm seeing here, is like you holding both of these emotional sides of you, and just being in the middle and knowing that both of them are okay and both of them are right. Okay, you're also being invited to see where in your life are you sort of lacking some discipline. We have the Emperor upside down right now. Maybe you are feeling like, maybe right now you're feeling overwhelmed because you're like, oh my gosh, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that. Well, right now you're being slowed down because you're being shown where is it that you need to kind of focus your energy, and where you need to become more practical in your everyday life. Okay, try not to get yourself in a place of, how do I say this? Like, I feel like sometimes when things are slowing down, we may feel like we are failing at life. And that's not what's happening here, dear soul. I want to invite you to really think about, um, this is not failure. This is just an opportunity. It's just something that's being presented so that you can acknowledge. It's just this. So because of the fact that this is a very emotional weekend for some of you, you may feel like, again, you're holding both of the ends of the spectrum when it comes down to your emotional body. I want to invite you to really think about, okay, this is happening for a reason. Let me just hold the emotion for this side and then also for this side, because they are all speaking to me. They're trying to tell me something. What are these emotions trying to tell me right now? And so this is a perfect time for you to really listen to both sides of your emotional body. You're also being invited to alchemy this weekend. We have the card of alchemy, dear soul. How can you bring a little bit of um, grace for yourself during this weekend? And how can you bring a little bit more of higher understanding? Like, where can you call in that higher understanding to what's happening? Can you call in the understanding of the gifts that are behind all of this experience? Because that gift actually is going to be the propeller, right? Which we have the Page of Wands, is going to be the propeller towards the energy you're gonna feel forward. Like you're gonna be like, oh my god, this is why. Oh my gosh, this is the purpose of it. And then it's just gonna elevate the, like, there's like this like ignition that happens from that. So you want to allow this space to exist so that you can come into that alchemy, dear soul. You're also being invited to think about the parts of you that still need a little bit of love, tender love and care, right? How can you slow down this weekend and give yourself a little bit of retreat, a little bit of space? What can you do that is healing this weekend, dear soul? If you are experiencing these two extremes at this time and you're feeling like you're not going anywhere, you're feeling stuck, and you're kind of like, okay, I'm doing the cha-cha here every day. I want to invite you to think about, well, maybe I just need to slow down and like, let me just stop trying to push forward. Let me just sit here for a minute, right? If you're feeling like that, then you are being called to create space and heal. How can you create a little bit of that sacred space for yourself? We want to see what Spirit of Psilocybin wants to say here in regards to this. If you're experiencing this right now, Spirit of Psilocybin, please let us know what else do we need to know here. Right. So there could potentially be a little bit of we got the card of inertia. The card of inertia represents this sort of like the stubborn energy. It's almost like this resistance to doing any changes because you are used to the status quo, or even the change feels scary, and that sort of stops you from actually really allowing yourself to receive the guidance that you need to, or even listening, or you're denying yourself listening to the guidance that you've been receiving, because you know that action that you're being invited to take is going to change things around, and it's going to be a transformative thing. So then you're like, oh my gosh, am I ready? Am I ready? Am I ready? Yes, you're ready. If you are being guided, you are ready. So get yourself in that place of allowing this change. Take that action today towards the change. It doesn't have to be 180. You can take like like 1 degree of action every single day, or even less than 1 degree of action. It doesn't have to go 180 degrees, right? But taking that first action is what's going to unfold and create this like domino effect. We got the card of the elements coming in, dear soul. Oh my gosh, you probably feel like you don't have everything under your belt right now, and that's what's keeping you from actually taking action right now. That is the driving factor behind that resistance, dear soul, is the fact that you feel like you don't have everything that you need. You're being initiated in your magic, in your power, in what you're meant to be doing. There's this spiritual awakening, in a sense, where you're being invited to connect to all of these elements that are already within you, so that you can express your highest expression, your highest evolvement, your soul. So how can you give yourself permission to see this as an initiation and alchemize this experience, right? Through that understanding of initiation, dear soul. You're also being invited to your intergalactic family, dear soul. So this weekend, you can lean into your intergalactic family. Maybe they have been calling you in for support. Maybe they are ready to support you in your journey. How can you call in a little bit more of that support from your spirit team or your intergalactic family? Okay. Calling in that beautiful support. Finally, oh my goodness, are we not receiving the medicine today? We got the card of Grandfather Fire coming in for you. Oh my gosh, of course Grandfather Fire is present, because guess what? Tomorrow is the new moon in Aries. So of course you have Grandfather Fire telling you, listen, you want to alchemize? Use the medicine of fire. Use the medicine of fire. You can literally do like a little fire ceremony for yourself. You can sit with a candle this weekend and meditate. Send all of these emotions and all of these things that you're feeling. Maybe even send all of this feeling of resistance. Send that to the candle. Send it to the fire. Release that. Release. And that is the message for you, dear soul. If you feel like this resonates for you, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you share this with someone that you care about and that you love. And then I also want to invite you to make sure that you subscribe to this channel if you haven't done so. Thank you so much for being here. I'm so grateful that I get to do this with you. So grateful that I get to support you and embrace this beautiful gift of sharing and being of service. And here it is, my cat's tail is here. So here's Jazz saying hello. I'm so grateful that he's here. And so yeah, you're getting a little bit of cat medicine here as well. Share and like this video, please. Make sure that you go to the Akashic Records channel and support that channel. At the Akashic Records channel, you're going to put the @ and then the Akashic Records channel here on YouTube. And if you need support, maybe you want, right? Maybe you want to receive a reading for yourself, or you want to receive an Akashic clearing, you can go to www.theakashicrecords.com. I'm sorry, www.thebloominglotushealing.com, www.thebloominglotushealing.com, and then sign up for one of my services there. So thank you, everyone. I love you all. It was so good to connect with everyone, and I will see you on Monday.